All right, thank you so much for staying with us. Kadiri is already there. And of course, we are going straight to the first discussion. Kadiri.
All right, here we'll be looking at World Environmental Day. You know, United Nations set aside 5th of June every year to create awareness and for citizens to take action against you know, those activities that degrades the environment, activities that you say, if you are in the north, that lead to desertification, and the south, those activities that, of course, encourages erosion. And so to do this, I have with me the National President, National Environmental Society, Nigeria Environmental Society, Dr. Efib Bidike Okobia. Very good morning to you.
Good morning. Yeah, it's my pleasure being here.
Yeah, so June 5th is here, World Environmental Day. What are we looking at?
Well, this year's theme is tagged on plastic solution. And you know, plastic has become a global challenge with regards to evacuation. If you look at the blue economy, the ocean, you know, globally, you see a lot of plastics around the beach. If you look at our streets, you see a lot of illegal dump sites. If you look at the drainages, you also see plastics and polythene bags and non-degradable items. So it's a major issue to be, you know, looked at.
So, but why the focus on plastic pollution? There are many, you know, activities that are not environmental friendly. You know, you discover that some persons just create their own way when some settlement are springing up. Some persons will just, because they need to survive through farming, they just till the land in such a way that it will affect, you know, the next person's land. So why the focus on plastic?
Well, if you are conversant with the World Environment Day, you find that each year they come up with different themes. And, you know, plastic is also interrelated to a lot of issues. You notice, you know, some illegal dump sites, they burn plastics. And that contains dioxin, which is very poisonous to the human health and also the environment. So if you want to discard that aspect and don't take it holistically, you know, then there's a challenge. Now, globally, you find out that in the ocean, in seas, in rivers, there are a lot of plastic that are underneath, and this affects the aquatic life. So it's a major issue that should be looked at. I think that is why it is being taken up this year.
So how do we tackle plastics?
Well, you know, there are some key plastic materials. You have some that could be recycled, and you have some that you cannot recycle. Now, we have a national plastic policy. Okay, we also have national municipal solid waste policy documents. These are documents that are there to help regulate waste and also plastic. And I know UNIDO is, you know, working on recycling plants as a case study in some cities. I think Abuja is privileged to be one of those cities. But the challenge which we see is the implementation of those policy documents. Now, if you say, oh, I have a policy on plastic, the question is, how do you now effectively implement the policy? I think that's the challenge we're having. So plastic solution is now an holistic issue. Municipal solid waste is domiciled with the local government. But you find out, even in the FCT where we are, that there's no separation of these materials. Waste is waste, whether construction waste, whether biodegradable waste, they're all lumped together and evacuated. So I think one of the major things that should be looked at is each state, houses of assembly, should enact a law on separation of waste. Okay, that should be the first step. Once that is done, you have to put the educational curriculum, solid waste recycling, waste disposal should be part of the curriculum, so that it sits with every individual to know that, look, the waste you generate from your homes should be separated. You separated the biodegradable, which is the food waste, from the kitchen, from plastic, from paper. And you see, this is going to actually create a lot of activities and employment. If you have vendors, when you have this sort of, like you have vendors who are evacuating biodegradable, those biodegradable waste can be used as manure and brought back into agriculture. It takes away the chemical, fertilizers out of the system. Not totally, but at least it reduces it. You have vendors that come to evacuate the plastic waste that also could be recycled in their facility into other usable materials. You have those that will come and take furnitures, papers. So you find out that the world is moving to circular economy, where there's no longer a waste. Nothing is waste anymore. Whatever you think is waste can be recycled and reused. So I think that is the right direction we should be looking at as a country.
Some people have, made some suggestion that since plastic are non-degradable, and when they go into the soil, they remain there as long as the world exists, why can't there be a policy, a piece of legislation that will criminalize production of plastic?
Well, you notice when plastics was invented in the 50s, it was a welcome idea. And you see, as society evolved and as technology also evolves, you begin to see different scientific measures. We cannot totally discredit plastic, okay? If you look at the piping, domestic piping in your plumbing system, it is PVC. PVC is also part of the plastic material. If you look at preservatives, your shampoo, your ketchup, it is plastic that is being used. So, and you find out that these are good, components of, storing these these items I just made mention of. But the issue, which is now the concern, is how do we now carefully dispose of these materials, that it does not constitute nuisance to the environment and also harmful to human health. And I think that is a wise decision. So the issue now is the disposal method, and the world is moving towards recycling. So I don't see any reason why we should not look at recycling as a method of solving the solution of plastic pollution.
Interesting. So how is the federal government doing, to ensure that we move into what you called the recycling of plastic, and like you said, there's nothing that's actually useless. The world is going towards towards the recycling. Whatever you think that you want to dispose, it can be used in some particular sector. It can be on the farm where it gives some kind of nutrient and all of that. So when it comes to this aspect, we have the Ministry of Environment. How would you score them? Are they doing well? Because this plastic thing, we have been talking about it for ages, and it appears the authority responsible, the Ministry of Environment, is really not doing anything about it.
Well, see, most times we misconstrue and misplace the functions of the federal ministry. The federal ministry is a policy-making body and has agencies that are actually implementing. Agencies that implement some of those policies. You have NOSTRA that handles oil and spill. You have NESRA that handles non-oil and gas sector. So you notice that if we put all responsibilities in the hands of the Ministry of Environment, then we are actually making a huge mistake. I think the way forward, the ministry may not be doing up to 90%, okay? But I think the way forward is to bring in private sector to participate in that area. In most developed climes, you have private recycling plants where you take your refuse there and you pay. So disposal of refuse is not free. I think that should also sink into the narrative of Nigerians, where people want people to come and evacuate your waste for free. It's not your waste. You should pay for the evacuation. So I think that is the narrative we should be looking at.
Okay, let's go to our Benin Network studio where my colleague has some questions for you.
So let's just quickly look at the impact or the importance of plastic. You know, though they are kind of waste, in some part of the north, I had privilege of growing up in the north. We have people who recycle this stuff and make money out of it. Does it have any economic impact?
Well, I can't hear him because the mic is working. This is not working, so I think...
No, I think what he's saying, economic impact of those plastic waste, you know, if I get him clearly, the economic impact of, you know, getting those plastics.
Is it procuring them or disposing them? When you talk of economic impact, we should be specific because, you know, when you're discussing issues like this, you must drive home the facts and also, you know, the key elements of
at the stage of procuring
so if you're talking
them,
of economic impact, is it the acquisition or procurement of the plastics or the disposal?
Yeah, I think it's at the stage of procurement.
Okay, so if it's at the stage of procurement, when you say economic impact, we have petrochemical from the oil and from crude. That is where you can get most of these plastics. So the economic impact of plastic is of huge benefit to Nigeria. Huge benefits. Element Petrochemical, Indorama is producing plastics. I think they're expanding their plants. It's huge impact. The issue we should focus on is how do we carefully dispose the plastic? This arm of this chair is made from plastic. This should be PVC because it's very strong. So you see that the economic impact of plastic cannot be just discarded overnight. This chair we're sitting on is made of plastic. So you find out that plastic is relevant to our economic impact as of today. Our focus now should be how do we now manage this menace of plastic pollution? And I think to drive that narrative is to get the state legislators, assembly, to look at plastic. In 2016, to help the local government in the FCT, Buhari, Gwagwalada, Amak, Kuje, and Abaji, I went to these local governments to interface with the chairman. But unfortunately, they did not understand the essence of waste management and also disposing of the waste. It was only the chapter, the Buhari area council chairman, young chap, that said, look, bring the proposal, let me sign it off. And I said, look, we're an NGO. We are not here to do business. We're here to assist and provide solution. And we've designed a waste recycling system for the area council. And what that would have done to them, the economic value it would have done to them, they missed out on it. Because from those wastes they would have recycled, they would have been able to come up with buttons on shirts, because it's just the molds. They were able to come up with directions, poles, a lot of things would have, been evolved from that process. I know there's a lady in Garrick that uses plastic mixed with stone dust to produce stones, interlocking stones. So you find that there are solutions already, but it's just to cascade and expand on the scope of getting people involved to actually minimize plastic pollution in our environments.
All right, Praise, you have other questions?
Sure. Can we now look at the solution to this pollution, plastic pollution? Does it have any solution? You've mentioned some, actually, talking about having legislatures come on board. But what are the other solutions we may have to look at?
asking, beside using or getting some piece of legislation as a solution to plastic, what other solution do we have?
Is setting up recycling plants. The essence of we need to understand these things are process. Okay, it's a process you must follow. Because if you set up the recycling plants in the various states and there's no legislation to compel people to separate the waste at source, the first brick wall you meet is how do you now evacuate? So you need to take construction waste, medical waste, in one bag to a facility. So it's going to be a mess. So the first thing we need to do is to get the State House of Assembly to come up with them for separation of waste at source. Once that is done, you get vendors and sensitize the people. You see, this thing is designed to actually help create economic value. Okay, when you talk about SMSE, it's to create economic value for people and also clean up our environment. Now, you know that you have in most cities, look at the town planning system, you have the eyebrow areas, you have the middle class, and you have that for the...
Yeah, but they said
so when you
no longer have middle class.
There is. Now, once you want to plan waste evacuation and giving a solution, you do what you call a quadrant grid. You look at the areas where the affluents live. They pay more for evacuation. And you can use that subsidize for the poor. And that is how the system works. In developed climes, you pay maybe 20 pounds, 50 pounds a month for the evacuation of your bin. Okay? And these bins are separated. So the company has the ones that come for a specific day of the week to evacuate brown waste, which is the biodegradable. They have the one that comes to evacuate the pool. And they have the one that comes to evacuate the what do you call it now? The grasses. Okay? Now, if you have other wastes, maybe like furnitures that are damaged, and all, you either get a skit and you pay for the skit to come and take it away, or you take them to a private recycling plant and you pay. So you find out that, yes, the piece of legislation is a starting point. We have policy documents, let's not forget it. The Constitution empowers the local government to handle waste. But what we are saying is, to get this right, there must be a policy mandating people to separate.
Yeah, but you know, most policies and pieces of legislation work only in city centers, work only in in urban areas. In rural communities, you hardly see these things. You hardly can go there and want to enforce some of these policies. So what will become of those areas?
I beg to differ. I did national implementation plan on dioxins and furans in 2014 for the country. It was the UNDP JEF, Federal Ministry of Environment funded project. And if you go up north, I was amazed. When I went up to Bauchi, you find out that these people, the recycles, they have waste separated, okay? That
in the villages.
In the villages, I still have those pictures that they don't touch, they allow to degrade, and they evacuate it to the farms as manure. In the locals. So if you say, oh, in the local cities, no, this waste is bad. The only thing that was bad that I saw is the burning of the waste, because they don't know the effect of the carbon into their health. So for that, sensitization should be able to take care of that. So let's not say because they are locals, they're in the village, how do we solve the problem? The problem has to be sensitization, has to be awareness. You have to reach out. And you see, we have that coverage as a society. We have in almost all the states, we have in 28 states now, and we have 5 states of Nigeria Environmental Society coming on board. And these states actually reach out to the locals. So we cannot say as an excuse, how do we now handle that in the local communities? No. I think sensitization and awareness should be able to solve that.
Okay. Praise, if you are still there, Yeah, we can take some more before we round up.
Okay, is it that we have some countries that encourage plastic pollution than others? Because it seems in some part of the world they don't really take this very, very serious.
Okay, his question is that do we have some countries that support use of plastic? Because there are some countries that don't give a damn about whether you use plastic or not.
Yeah, there are some, but some are giving some legislation. Now, if you go to most of these developed countries, initially when you buy things from the supermarkets, they give you plastic bags. So now you have to buy it. So what people do if they go...
But I've been seeing, instead of plastic, it's paper.
Yeah, that's degradable material. In, let me use in Ireland, if you go to shops like Primark to do shopping, they give you paper bag, which is degradable. Okay? But if you go to a supermarket like Tesco, you have to buy. So what people do, which is another measure to cut plastic, polythene bags, you go with your own shopping bag. That is the recycling process. So once you have a bag, you know that if you're going for shopping, you are going with your bag. When you buy the items, you put it in the bag and you take it home. When you're going next for shopping, you go with that same bag. So you don't dispose it. You understand? You don't allow those bags to constitute nuisance to the environment. I know in Rwanda, there's actually a law on ban of use of plastics. So you can't even go into the country with that. And I think Kenya is also working towards that. But in as much as we say the use of plastic is good, we're also saying that, look, we should not pollute our environment with it. And we should try as much as possible not also pollute the ocean, the rivers, because the aquatic life is there. You eat, isn't it? You eat crabs. If those crabs are eating the plastics, they cannot survive. That means you're going to also be eating those foods. So we also have to not only look out for ourselves, look out for our immediate environment. Biodiversity, aquatic life, they are part of the earth and part of the ecosystem. So I think it is the right time, it is the right team, and we should work towards plastic solution.
Thank you so much for your time with us on the program.
Thank you.
We hope we have all taken notes and work towards some plastic solutions. All right, it has been with Dr. Efe Bidike, who is the National President, Nigerian Environmental Society. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll take a quick break. When we come back, the program continues.